Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining a wonderful webinar today. The world is going through a difficult challenge right now. A lot of people are giving sacrifices, the challenge for which the world was never prepared for. A lot of people are giving the sacrifices of their life. A lot of people are losing their jobs. But there will be a life after COVID as well. That will also be a new life. And if we not get ready for that life today, we might pay the price tomorrow as well. Maybe in the different form, maybe in the form of losing job, maybe in the form of not getting enough in the business. So it is very important for us to understand from the COVID and start preparing ourselves for the life after COVID. That is the objective, that is the purpose. We are running the series of webinars for which we are inviting a wonderful, a very positive people from different parts of the world, from different parts of the industry to help you, to enable you to get ready better for the future. Please welcome Mr. Shakil Ahmed, who is our first panelist today. He is an entrepreneur and he will be very much high in demand tomorrow when he will be required because he's working in growth strategies for different organizations. He helps organizations to turn around their business and the right execution. He has worked in multiple sectors, including FMCG, telecom, education, retail, services, government. He is also an advocate of SDG site of UN and volunteer for Expo 2021. Welcome, Mr. Shakil. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ali.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the quick intro. I understand that I need to give my perspective to the whole audience right now, so I'll just quickly start. I am a bit conscious of the time for the others as well. Guys, coming purely from the business perspective, obviously I'm not being insensitive to the situation in which the people are. Our prayers and thoughts are with them. And obviously my prayers with you as well, that everyone stays safe at home. But coming purely from the business perspective, we have seen that, and it's kind of my personal experience as well, that a lot of new opportunities always come up whenever this kind of disruption comes into the business arena. I'll start by giving you a few examples on the kind of new markets and the products that I have experienced when I was talking to people, when I was doing my own business over here. The most interesting, and by the way, probably on top of my mind, is actually the home clothes. I recently talked to one of the brands person, and they were telling me that suddenly there is a surge in one of their home clothes brand line. And they were just wondering what exactly is the reason behind it. And the reason, by the way, is very interesting because a lot of people are actually in the lockdown right now. So they are actually conducting a lot of interaction through social media. So they want to have a certain type of clothes which is kind of smart casual, but at the same time, since they're at home, so it also should give a bit of a comfy outlook to the audience. So they are actually purchasing a lot as far as this particular clothing line is concerned. So I was just wondering that given the situation that we have, suddenly a new clothing line opportunity has come up into the market, and those who understand that are actually trying to capitalize on it. We all know about the second opportunity, which is the hygiene products. One of my friends, Adib, is here. He actually owes me some money, but I cannot find him these days, and for the good reason, because his factory is right now working around the clock, 24 hours. And he's busy producing a lot of stuff, which is good. And obviously, we understand that this is also for catering to the health sector needs over here. Another surge that we have seen is actually in the delivery sector. I was recently engaged with one of the companies, and I've actually completed one of the feasibility reports for them. This is basically the bike delivery service here in UAE. And guys, by the way, the best contingency plan that I have ever worked on for them is actually, even if your own business model does not work, you can always rent your services to the other companies, to the other operations, to the other businesses who are actually in high demand for such services. And we can actually enlist a number of services which we have seen have kind of experienced a rise given the current situation. Talk about online games, talk about the fitness equipment at home because people are at home, they want to stay fit. Online shopping and support, web events. For that matter, we are actually sitting on this in this webinar. I don't think that if it would be a situation other than this, I would have actually be joining this panel because we are always busy with certain things. The tele services, especially, I talk about my kid recently. We were to go to the hospital, but we were given the teleconsultation option. I have never heard of that, but given the situation, this is something which is really getting hyped up. Some of these opportunities might be temporary, but the thing is that businesses are trying to capitalize on them and they're earning a lot out of it. So my idea is that whenever there is a disruption, always hunt for the opportunity, it will be there. If we talk about the second area, which is mainly to improve your business operations, your business conduct, a lot of companies these days, which I have been in discussion to, they're trying to enhance their agility. So they are trying to, for instance, one company I know, they're trying to upgrade their IT systems, given the fact that the load is a little low at this point in time. Contrary to that, there is another business who is actually trying to do the load balancing activity at this point in time because a lot of their, let's say, orders are actually coming online and they were never ready for that. Another company which I know is actually trying to come up with some sort of an innovation because they want to come up with an HR model whereby they can evaluate the performance of the people sitting at home. It's very interesting. Never thought of it, but then again, this is probably the time when they're coming up with these innovations. I actually went through a recent survey which was conducted by PwC, and I learned that about 92% of the CFOs that they have talked about are actually looking into the cost reduction strategies. 92%. We are talking about big companies here in UAE. About 52% of these companies, they are actually considering new supply chain arrangements for their businesses. So just imagine all those support businesses which can actually help them come up or let's say address these strategies will have a heyday. So again, coming to the perspective that yes, there is a disruption in the market, but there is always an opportunity for you and everyone in there. For all the individuals out there or the entrepreneurs who are actually listening to this message here, I just want to have come up with 3 quick recommendations. One is that we all know that there's a stimulus package which has been announced by the UAE government. If you are in a position to avail these cheaper government services, please go ahead and do that. Today, I think in today's news, I saw that there are about 90 to 100 business ventures in which UAE government is actually ready to give you 100% ownership. Never heard of it, but the thing is that this is out there in the market. If you want to grab the opportunity, please go ahead. Now is the best time to actually join hands with other businesses because a lot of businesses are under stress and they are open to working together with others. Capitalize on this opportunity. And my last point here is that please also try to open the social responsibility front. If your business hasn't worked on that, this is the best time. The world needs you. If you can contribute to the society and the people around you, please go ahead and do that. And the last point I want to make here is that recently I was, one of my good friends, Temu, he shared a very interesting slide with me. We've got a list of companies who kind of actually rose up during the time of 2008-2009 recession. Very big names in there: Groupon, Uber, Square, Pinterest, Venmo, Insta, WhatsApp, Slack. Let's try to emulate those success models and make the best out of the current situation. Again, my prayers with everyone. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Shakil. I think that's like a very short and crisp. With that, like you clearly give a heads up to the people by sharing few of the opportunities, like in the area of hygiene, in the area of clothing and web events. I think that's amazing. With that, I would invite my second panelist, Mr. Ziad Matar, who is a founding partner at Meditary, a company which is basically digital advisory network. He's a president of TIE Dubai, so supporting a lot of entrepreneurs and the businesses as well. He's an executive chairman, Hey Hot Staff, another company. He's a seasoned technology executive with amazing experience and worked intensively for Ericsson and Qualcomm, with a proven record. He's also angel investor and sitting as a board of several organizations. And the title, another title, he has a chief barbecue officer, the title he really like to share with us. Thank you so much, Ziad, for joining us today. We welcome you on board. And yep, I was waiting to see your hat as well, because every meeting, Ziad wear a different hat. So he has given a good surprise to us. Thank you so much. Over to Ziad. Please share the opportunities post-COVID and how we should start getting ready ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thanks a lot for this kind introduction and for the opportunity to have us all on this very interesting panel and answering some questions that are already coming from the audience. To talk about the hat, there are multiple reasons. First of all, I realized a while ago that we tend to dress in different ways to express our personality, but when we are doing conference calls, there is not much left to show. And I do have some nice hats, so I wear them different days, different hats. Today I'm wearing the cowboy hat because I'm feeling rather adventurous as well. But also for a third reason, and very relevant to what is happening now, is that I did attempt to cut my own hair over the weekend. Following the advice of a YouTube channel, and what is under the hat is not really good to show. So now the hat serves a real purpose, in addition to a cosmetic purpose. And so on that point, let's talk a little bit about the UAE in light of this situation. And despite my technology background, I will talk in more social and maybe human aspects. I was reading a very interesting essay that was published yesterday by Marc Andreessen. Marc Andreessen is the founder of Netscape. Those of you who remember the first browser that we ever used, probably. He's a very vocal investor in the US, and his essay is titled "It's Time to Build," and he has a very, very critical position on the reaction of most Western governments and institutions to the current situation, particularly the United States, of course, in the terms that they were not ready at all. They were not prepared at all. And I believe that he is right, that the implications of this will reverberate for the rest of the decade for all of these countries and nations. And on the other hand, I'm very happy and proud to say that in the UAE, we were probably one of the first countries outside of East Asia to react quickly and effectively in face of this situation. From early March, month and a half ago and more, the Ministry of Education said, well, you know what, we have this smart learning program. We've been doing smart learning for 5-6 years in pilots and gradually adding it in schools and universities around the nation. So now we are going to shift everything into the smart learning program. All the kids will go home, no more schools, and online distance learning will start mid-March. And we are there now for more than a month in a mode that actually is working very well. My kids, given the choice, will prefer to continue this way next year than to actually go to school every day. So this readiness that we see here versus the surprise and the current situation out there, I believe lies on one axis, but in two very important points that follow each other. We have a visionary government that is not afraid at all to imagine and set bold goals. You can see that, from things that they have done in the past 5 years, which a lot of people criticized or maybe even thought, oh, what a joke. We had a Ministry of Happiness, but the Ministry of Happiness, we used it to actually drive smart government, digital government, smart city. All of this was funneled under the happiness umbrella, but it is what enables today a lot of us to do many basic things from our home and avoid all of that unnecessarily going and contact and friction. They created a museum of the future, and even last year we established a ministry of the not impossible. And that shows you that vision that we have here, is something that we were not afraid of as a country, as a government, and it trickles down then to all the people who are here, and hence the cowboy hat. We have a little bit of that cowboy attitude, and in fact, the second item on that axis that follows vision is an exceptional ability to execute, to do. It is a can-do mentality, a bit cowboyish, but it is here. We know that we can do, and also probably before even Las Vegas started, the attitude of build it and will come, and they will come, was here in the UAE since the early 20th century, when Port of Dubai, Port of Deira was expanded, and then Jabal Ali was established, etc., etc. So all of this leads that, although we are today on a very high lockdown, most of us in the country feel that the situation is under control. We are only awaiting a matter of time before things start regaining normalcy. And this is, I think, the biggest opportunity for the country and for the society here. The opportunity to rebuild and rebuild in a right way. Globally, there was a lot of technology out there that was not being maybe used properly or to its full extent. Zoom, for instance, had 15 million users before this situation, and today has 200 millions of users. That's more than 10, 12, 15 times the number of users. It's an amazing tool, but nobody was able to use it, or nobody was willing to use it. And you know, on a different perspective, we were using technologies in all possible wrong ways, possibly. I mean, we first got the influencers, and now we have the influenza. So, and that, I think, for me, is a testament that we lived the past decade and maybe the past century with all its technological advance, like the Wolf of Wall Street. It was just a huge party, and nobody was thinking about what is the impact of what we are doing on the world. So this is a great opportunity for a reset for humanity. The Great Reset is what I call it. It will allow us to look again at priorities and how to achieve them. And I think the UAE is very well positioned for this. We have the readiness of the institution, the government. We have a very young and multicultural population. It's like a melting pot of the whole world. And we are open to experiment, and we have this can-do spirit. Thank you very much.
That's great, very positive perspective. And I think that's a heads up to the other countries as well, like how UAE is actually responding to this situation. And especially, I think the participants who are joining from different parts of the world, and especially from Pakistan, as I like the statement that your kids are given a choice that whether from now onward they like to come to school or not. I think as a parent, even this statement is a tough statement, because we don't want to keep them at home as well. Great. Yeah. So we'll move to the third panelist, and let me talk to the attendees who are just hearing the great ideas from our diversified group of panelists. Please, whatever you feel, whatever you want to ask, put that question in a Q&A box as you're hearing, because I will brief you later that this conversation is more about participant-driven conversation. So we're just building your understanding by diversified panelists, so that you just get a perspective. But at the same time, after 20 minutes of time, we'll start answering your questions. So the 1 hour will not be based on the panelists continue giving their perspective. We'll actually tailor it as per your requirement. As you just know that all of our respectable panelists are based in UAE, so that's very kind of them to give us time, and that's a good opportunity for you as well. People from Pakistan and people from other part of the world, you can ask specifically questions specific to UAE. So what kind of opportunities, what kind of steps you need to execute, and you need to start preparing from now onward. So please feel free to put your question as the discussion go along, so that when we start the Q&A in a few minutes time, we'll be able to start addressing those questions which are most liked by the participants. So Q&A box is open for you to raise your question. Now please welcome Ms. Mahwish Rahman. She is a very interesting personality, since very different than technology. So her first book was published with the name of Woman in Green and Beyond. So that was about a cricket story, and it was a celebration of women heroes and women empowerment. She also shared the podcast, which is the Bachpan Ki Kahaniyan, the first ever Urdu stories for children. That's a great work and a lot of appreciation from a lot of people. She focused a lot on gender empowerment, culture, and she is the lady who's believe on creating impact with the contribution. Thank you so much, Mavish, for joining us today. And it's over to you for sharing your thoughts, the opportunities, and the future after COVID. You on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you clearly.
All right, okay. Thank you so much, Ali, for having me, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ziad and Hassan, Shakil, sorry, for the wonderful introduction. I would like to bring in a slightly different perspective, and I would like to talk about the shared human experience that this pandemic has offered us, and the opportunities associated with it. So my very first point is that I think this has been a really humbling experience for all of us, whether we look at on individual basis, on organization level, or on country level. What has really stood out for me is that although we are physically distant, but people feel more connected. And I think that is because the reason that we are more aware and more present in the moment. You definitely see more compassion, more empathy, more gratitude. So it is the human connection that I feel that this opportunity, this time has given us the opportunity to build on. Now, as leaders, how do we foster it and make sure that we, take it forward? Because I think it is a very human connection which is helping us in the turbulent times, but it also something which we very easily forget when times are sort of normal. My second thought is, which I think is really important, is that this is the time to ask questions. And we talk about, when are things going to get normal and what is going to be the new normal. And I invite all of you to think deeply first that if the old ways or the old normal was normal in the first place, what were some of the underlying narratives and themes that were going under it? You may agree or not agree with it, but for example, we were made to believe a lot of things, that you needed to consume more, to accumulate more. Abundance was definitely one of the themes. Need to socialize more, everything in abundance. And so my question is that what do we learn from this time? And that is going to help us define the new normal moving forward, and what role do we play in this? The third point that I'm going to make is that I think this is the time which is going to make or break leaders. So how we as leaders recognize that the new normal that we are waiting for is also going to be static. It's not going to be static. That is also going to be ever evolving and changing. So how we as leaders prepare ourselves for that and build that muscle for creativity, because I think that is why I say that it's going to make or break people, because we don't know what to expect in the future, how it's going to unfold. And there's a very famous quote by a Roman philosopher, Seneca, who says that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And I think and again answers to right now. What has worked for us in the past and what has not? What kind of skills do we acquire? What kind of new world that we envision? How do we move forward? As I know for the creative community, it's going to take some time before people will have that places or going to performances and all. So what are the alternatives? How do we all of us as leaders, how do we use this time to that, how can it inspire us to create? And I think it is these stimulating questions which are going to help us loosen our creativity regardless of which field we are in, and will be able to take us and move forward.
Wow, so that's wonderful, Mavish. That's like on the more most towards the human side of the story, which is very important. I think few days back we had another webinar, and we got in a similar view that in the new world we need to balance between humanity and digital world. So I think this was the factor which was missing so rapidly, because when we were moving so faster towards like Samsung 10, Samsung 11. So technology like AI, 5G, that was very rapid, that we were suddenly start losing the importance of humans. So I think that's another important factor. Thank you so much for highlighting that. And please join me and welcome a very important part, and last but not the least, Mr. Hassan Iftihar, who is an authority in strategy, transformation, digital, and operating models. He's a director at Deloitte Consulting, based in UAE, an intensive 15 years of work experience, and he has enabled organizations in various sectors, including media, telecom, government, and e-commerce. Special interest in customer experience, I think, which is when we talk about e-commerce, when we talk about more about the industry moving towards online shopping, I think customer experience is something which is very important. And innovation and design thinking. Thank you so much, Hassan, for joining us today. And we are very happy to have your amazing views on digital economy and the future of digital. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ali, and thanks, Shakil, Ziad, and Mavish. Very interesting talk so far. So where I'll start is, and you've put me in a slightly difficult spot after finishing at the balance between human and digital, but I'll try to keep that within balance of what the new normal is. So I think I'd like to address the question of the new opportunities, starting to look at, obviously there are some highly impacted sectors, and those sectors will take longer than the other sectors to come back to normal. And here we are talking about, you have tourism, you have aviation, and all the linked sectors across those. And then you have some of the other sectors that, in my view, the governments would pick and prioritize to invest more in. And those sectors will then enable a number of opportunities for startups, for SMEs, for large corporations to build on. And that would actually get the economy back into rolling. That's at a higher level where in our view, things would restart. So the way I'd like to talk to you and to frame this is around 4 key areas. So the first one, I'd like to sketch very quickly sort of a global picture here. So when we look at the very strong economies, so let's say the top 10 economies of the world, and you have some of your Scandinavian ones, you have some of the East Asian ones, and so on. One thing that we see in common around those is the ones that are very high on their digital competitiveness indices. And if we pick those, then we see that year over year, these economies have been growing somewhere between 5 to 7.5% from a GDP per capita standpoint, which is a very healthy growth. And that is all pre-COVID. Now, what that means for the GCC and in specific the UAE, if you look at the way the strategies at the government level are rolled out here, there is a very heavy focus of moving away and diversifying away from the oil economies. And with what's happening with the oil price now, obviously this even becomes more of an opportunity. So far, when we look at these economies compared to the ones that are much higher in terms of their GDP per capita and the growth patterns they've had over the last 5 to 10 years, we see that the contribution from digital into those economies has been somewhere between 8 to 9%. If you look at UAE, for instance, which is still very high compared to the rest of GCC, it is roughly between 2 to 3%. So here is the delta. Here is the opportunity we are talking about. That in similarly performing economies, you have almost a 4 times growth opportunity here in the UAE, and more or less the same in the neighboring rich economies as well. So that's the type of opportunity we are talking about. And if you translate that in dollar terms, we are looking at, between now and the next 3 years, you're looking at somewhere between 70 to 85 billion dollars to be spent, invested in this in these core areas. Quickly moving on to how these countries, and especially UAE, has really been doing in when it comes to digital. So I'll speak about 3 sectors. And I think those 3 sectors are also absolutely key in the times that we are living in. First, I'll talk about education for instance. About 2 to 3 years ago, UAE had started programs on what we call Classroom of the Future. And already a lot of digitization of content had started. We also see that back then, the UAE had started massive programs on smart tourism, smart cities, so on and so forth. So all of those programs, in my view, are here to stay, and they are here to be transformed at a much, much faster pace going forward. And the reason for that is that the consumer base has moved at a faster pace in the last 2-3 months towards digital adoption. If you look at the number of webinars we are doing, if you look at the kids going to digitized classrooms these days, all of that is digital adoption, very fast growth that has happened. And hence, these sectors are key ones where UAE had already started investing. Finally, going forward, how I see this. So a couple of recent work that we were involved in and the researches we ran, we've really categorized this whole investment into digital around 10 to 15 broad technology areas. And here we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about investments in 5G and so on. If we look at the sentiments over the last 2 months, we see 2 types of sentiments. One is that there are announcements from large companies where they want to fast track these investments. Because if you see what's happened is that 30% of internet growth has happened globally over the last 2 months, which is actually what happens over 12 months period. So the capacity pressures we are facing here is massive, and hence an opportunity to invest in those areas. Then there is e-commerce, then there is cloud adoption, and so on and so forth, and we can discuss a bit more about these. Finally, I see those types of opportunities to be addressed by startups, by small and medium enterprises, and likewise by the global organizations. And I can tell you that not only in UAE, but also in neighboring Middle East countries, there are programs and incentives starting from startups, innovation, incubation centers, accelerators, and angel funds, down to SME incentivization on tax breaks, and then the global companies coming in and using this as an export hub. So all of that, I think, is in place, and I'm very confident that these sectors will grow at a faster pace post-COVID. Back to you.
So I think that's really great. I again like the area which you just talked about, especially the education. So the message which we are just getting that the UAE had a head start, and they were smart education, smart working. So they were really ready for that. And especially this will further transform everything. So I think we got initial feedback and a list of opportunities from our panelists. I would now move on to the Q&A section. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we'll talk for the questions which have been asked. So I would say, let's start from the questions which are here with us now. And I would request that now all the panelists can switch on their video and audio so that, we have a collective conversation now where everybody can chip in and give a 30-second view about any question. Yep. So, so if I just put the first question, there was a lot of hype regarding Expo 2020, and there has been massive investment with a lot of expectations from the business community. What's the sentiment in the country? Who would like to take this question? Let's try to squeeze our answer in 30 seconds to 1 minute. Because yeah, Shakil, because you're volunteer for this Expo 2020, so give 30-second response on that, please.
Sure, thank you. I will quickly go into the mechanics. So when we talk about the Expo 2020, the revenue drivers for the UAE government was mainly two. I'm just categorizing them into two broad sections. The number one is the visitors who will be coming in to UAE with all the spending and all the relevant, let's say, incoming, the income that we can expect from there. And the second one is the kind of boost it can give to the local businesses, especially the SMEs, because I heard that even if the contracts have gone to the bigger companies, they're still tapping a lot of local smaller companies to make sure that all the procurement is actually done as per the requirements. If we look at the total perspective, there was an expected increase in the economy was, so I think somewhere about 2.9%. This was the expected economy growth before this COVID-19. As of today, the new estimates are about, I think, minus 0.9%, which is almost nothing, zero. So sluggishness is there. But we are expecting that the step is good in a way that we have kind of deferred this incoming revenue opportunity to a time where we can actually get the maximum benefit out of it. The new revised estimate is somewhere around 4.1%, which is really good. And my expectation there is that had it happened at this point in time, somewhere in October, as planned earlier, 4.1% growth was never possible. Next year, same time, yes, we can expect that. Thank you.
That's great. Very, very crisp. I like another question which is asked by one of the participants. Yeah, so Mr. Idris from UAE is like from finance community. The interesting question, I would request if Ziad could just take it. How come we can change our mindset with this new digital reset, although we still hope and waiting this lockdown to finish and we start normal previous lifestyle? I will just give my comment later on once Ziad will finish on that.
I think, you know, this lockdown is something that nobody has been prepared for. And I have seen from my team and my family and friends here and in other countries how different people adapt differently to it. Some people are saying, oh, we have so much time and we don't know what to do. I don't know many people who are saying that. Everybody that I know has been super busy, but in different ways. It still I mean, we still have 24 hours per day. It's just that we are going to use them differently. A panel like this, we put together in what, 10 days now? It took us less than 10 days. 6 months ago, this would have never happened, you know, probably. Like, because we would have insisted to be in the same place. And even if we did want to do it online, I would have been traveling, somebody is out of the office, etc. So the opportunity now is there to do what we can do that we couldn't do before, using all these digital means and digital channels. We have a platform, we have two platforms. You mentioned them when you introduced me. One of them is to support entrepreneurs called TAI. Many of you maybe are familiar with our also chapters in other countries and other cities. And we shifted immediately all our activities. And in fact, we tripled our output. Since March 19 till today, we have done 6 online events, legal panels, events about how to use Zoom and how to use Microsoft Teams with Microsoft and Zoom. And, you know, tomorrow we have an event or the day after about wellness at home, etc. So we shifted automatically all our resources to give to the entrepreneur or the budding entrepreneur sitting at home a lot of material that can be used by them either to weather this storm or to prepare them for what comes next. We have another platform and called Hey Hot Staff, as you mentioned, and it's a social recruitment platform for the hospitality industry. We have 50,000 waiters, reservation managers, baristas, chefs, restaurant managers, you name it, on that platform who today are sitting at home. There is no work at all for them. And we just launched today, together with a sister company, a partner of ours called Potential.com, an online learning program for them so that they can learn other skills, new skills, so digital skills, soft skills, etc. And also in parallel, we're preparing a hospitality-specific program for them. So the opportunity is there. The tools are here. The infrastructure is ready and enabling us. That's the best we can do. And this will be over sooner than later, I hope, and everything will be back gradually to normal.
All right. Okay. So that's amazing. So if I just ask Hassan a very bit different question, because a lot of people will be watching this video on YouTube and on the social media later on. Especially, we got a big respect from request from Pakistan as well. How do you clearly see that from the digital side? Because there's a Digital Pakistan initiative going on in Pakistan where the government is promoting digital economy, DFS as well, and other areas. What do you think, like specifically for Pakistanis, right after COVID, what kind of opportunities they should start preparing now to look forward later?
Very good question, Ali, and thanks for posting that question. Look, I think the way to frame a response to this should be around the different segments of business that could be able to take a benefit out of that. Okay, so let's start with the startups, the scale-ups, the small and medium enterprises, which in my view is the future backbone of the Pakistani economy going forward. Okay? What I'm seeing is that UAE and let's say one or two other countries here in the region, they are heavily focused on not only incentivizing the local startup community into all this digital economy, but also in inviting the startups that somehow or the other align to the topics, the agendas, the use cases these digital governments are going forward with. Mm-hmm. So I think one key action for the Pakistani, let's say the National Incubation Center, for instance, as you know, they are doing a wonderful job, and wider Digital Pakistan is to form these partnerships, to form these collaborations at this time with the Middle Eastern countries, including UAE, and make sure that the initiatives they are working on in Pakistan. For instance, there was a hackathon week or week and a half ago in Pakistan on COVID response coming from digital. The same is going on in UAE, it's going on in Qatar, it's going on in other countries. I see no reason why this can't be connected between Pakistan and these countries and make use of that. And I think Pakistan, that's one talent through digital economy that we must tap into from a Pakistani perspective. And I think at a larger level, to answer the second part of your question, at a larger level for Digital Pakistan, again, there's a lot of learning that Digital Pakistan can take from UAE and again some of at least one other GCC country, that's Qatar. Because the way these countries have gone and failed and then gone back again into running their national digital programs is an amazing learning on how they orchestrate digital, how they bring foreign investments into digital, which is a key part of making it a success.
So great response. So I have a question for Mavish, but before I go to Mavish, I just want a quick response from Shakil. Shakil, since you are a volunteer for 2021 Expo now, so you know that businesses in a lot of countries, especially Pakistan and similar countries, will be in challenging situation. How do you see that the opportunities for Pakistanis in digital side, even in construction side, for to support in 2021 Expo? How do you see that?
If you talk about, let's say, specifically for Pakistan, I think a lot depends on the kind of facilities and and I say the incentives that the government will provide to the businesses. I know, let's say, a lot of businesses who have tried to tap the Expo 2021 so-called now opportunity, but they have been doing it on their own. So unless a consolidated effort comes from the government side, whereby any of the government departments who are actually the relevant ones establish a good base for these businesses. So all of these businesses who can actually have the capacity and who can actually tap on that base or that established, I would say, government program, this will actually give a lot of boosts to all the SMEs that we are just talking about in Pakistan. And not only SMEs, a lot of new businesses, people I know, they have ideas. It's just a matter of how they can actually execute it. So once you establish this base whereby it gives a good facility, or let's say it will facilitate all the businesses to conduct this business across the border, I think that will be the pure catalyst that everyone is looking up to right now.
All right.
Because I tell you the reason, individually we can do a lot of stuff, but if it comes to a concerted effort, it has to be a government move. Without that, you cannot, or let's say a proper institute or organization who should support these efforts to make it a, kind of a fist.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mavish, I have a question for you from Taimur. You're doing the podcasts for different topics. So how is your experience with that? And how do you feel that post-COVID and currently it will be helpful for the participant and for the people? You're mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. The podcast that I'm doing is specifically actually for kids, so it doesn't have to do with this. But I've read the question now also. I think what has really helped me during this time is the breadth of work that I do, and I think it helps because like I'm able to focus on things that I can do and not, of course, on which I cannot do. I cannot go out to photograph and document things, but I can still, record my podcast or things, start thinking about the projects that I can work on, or again, like I was saying, the opportunities this time is offering me or inspiring me to take up. For example, I would love to, like even currently, the panel that we're talking, I always feel that, all these webinars and conversations are always coming from a point of privilege, fortunately or unfortunately. But I would love to know, how are the marginalized communities dealing with this? And I think somebody needs to go and document that as well. So of course you can't do it right now because you're staying home, but these are some of the things that one can think about moving forward.
So yep, that's very good response. Ziad, a very quick question from your side. What is one advice which you can just give to the people who have fear that they might lose the job? What do they start doing it now from the UAE perspective? Should they start thinking from being entrepreneur, or how to be upskilled? What is one crisp advice to the people who are fear now?
No, fear comes a lot from the perspective of not having control on a situation, which is for everyone, whether we have a job or not. Nothing in the history of humanity maybe prepared us for what we have today. And I was listening to a very interesting TED interview a couple of weeks ago with the writer of Eat, Pray, Love, and she said, well, this whole illusion of control, we never had it. In our daily life anyway, we don't have control. So it's not that like we lost control a lot more today. The most control I have today is that I can pick up maybe that glass of water, but that has been always the case. So once you reduce that fear, then you can then look again and work on yourself. And on a business perspective, as many of our also esteemed panelists will say, you cannot save yourself out of a situation like this. You can only invest your way out of it. So this is the time to really invest in ourselves, learn, build. But also it's a great time to find solutions for problems that are growing, and that we can have this innovation in certain people suddenly flourish in a situation like this and come up with these solutions. Many startups were born after the past recession in 2008, 2009. This is much bigger in magnitude, but hopefully that means even better innovation will come out of this.
Right. So we've got a few more interesting questions. Yep. So I got a question for Hassan. That's from Bilal. COVID has definitely changed the way we create value and generated many opportunities. The question is, how does that UAE government plan to jumpstart the sectors most impacted by the situation? Tourism, aviation, to the name few. What are your views?
Yeah, sure. And I think, like initially during the introduction, we were discussing across the panel that there are the sectors that inherently have the tendency to be the most impacted ones, and there is hardly anything you can do about this, no matter how much money a government can inject from public funds.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the UAE had also a large chunk of GDP contribution coming from some of those sectors. So to name a few, oil is close to 30%. The next is travel, transport, tourism, and that is going to be impacted at least for the next foreseeable 1 to 2 quarters. So what are the alternatives? And I think the alternatives go back to creating those platforms that will still keep the economics of the country going. It will still attract foreign direct investment because you are building kind of the platforms and the backbone of the country from a digital standpoint. So that is what restarts the economy, while you are going to suffer on the other sectors. I don't think there is any running away from that fact. So if we are able to diversify our spending as a country, and also then as businesses, and we can find the new areas of where we want to innovate our business models, or we change direction to how we address our customers, consumers, going more online, I think that is the way forward. We all have to take certain steps in this direction of digitization, be it the government, individual level, business levels, to have alternate ways of addressing the challenge.
Okay. All right. So consumers are shopping online at much higher level now, especially groceries versus earlier. Do you think it will go back to normal? Shakil, can you just? I think it will be a new world, but still would like to hear from Shakil. Will we go back to normal, or it will be a different life now onwards?
This is the time when we need to say that let's be ready for the new normal, because the thing is that such disruptions, they always bring in changes in the business conduct, which are like not temporary, they are permanent. So if we are talking about a lot of digitalization, we are talking about a lot of consumer habits changing. A lot of people who are actually kind of untapped, they were even aware of the e-shopping phenomena, but they were probably not up for it for whatever reasons, maybe because they just don't want to stay traditional. Now they have kind of experienced it, and they have seen the ease into this new change. So my expectation would be that whatever the change that we are seeing at this point in time, if it has gone, let's say, from 20% to 90%, it will not fall back to 20% again. Maybe it will come back to the 50 or 60%, but the change, it will be there. It will stay for a long time, and maybe for good, because at the end of the day, we do understand that these are the new ways the businesses are evolving. A lot of businesses are probably not ready for this kind of a change. And I know, for that matter, for instance, one of the grocery shopping app here in Dubai, it just crashed, not because there were no orders. They were crashed because there were so many orders that their system just could not, keep up with that. So I think the change will stay. The businesses will have to make their way. They will have to also change accordingly. The traditional ways are actually, again, changing. They will not stay. I think Mavish probably said that the change is constant. Yes, it will be. So no, things will not go back to the normal. There will be a new normal, and let's embrace that.
Wow. So I think with that, we still got a few questions left, but I think because of time, we need to move to the next step, which is the third part of our webinar today. So we started with the conversation from our respectable panelists, and then we took around 25 minutes to answer the question. So I think that created a big relevance for the participant. Now I think it's a more turn towards the participants now. I would request every participant, based on our 55 minutes of precious time from our panelists and question answer, just think about one action which you gonna take after this webinar. Like, it can be your upskilling, it can be like preparing your resume again. It can be like contacting Ziad to get registered for TIE membership. Just write down one key takeaway, because it is very important. That is not informational session. It is an actionable session. We want to hear from your side. So, and you can put it in the chat box. What is the one key takeaway for you from today's session? So we have another 3 to 4 minutes when we will be answering and we're just reviewing it. And I think our panelists will be very happy to see that they are able to generate action for the participants. So feel free to write down in chat box what are the action you are taking it forward from now onward.
Can you say something in the meantime? Is it?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of lines here, because I saw one of the questions. Somebody was asking about how long will this situation prevail, or when do we expect things to go back to normal, whatever it is, new normal. I was actually reading through a couple of experts, specifically on this point, on this matter. Now, one situation is that we do not have a double dip situation. This means that whatever is happening right now, it's going to go flat and then it will go down. So eventually we are talking about the new normal. Another situation is that it go down and then for some reason it surges back again. This means we are talking about the two dips in the economy. So come what may, the expectation is that it will be about 1 to 2 years when the economy will actually come back to the same situation as it was before the COVID. Remember that we are talking about a situation where the world economy was not really good even before COVID. Situation has kind of deepened. Yes, the recession is coming, but as I said that there are opportunities for a lot of businesses in there. We need to tap on that. But let's keep it in mind that it will be about 1 to 2 years when we should expect things to go back to the new normal.
Wow. So we got a few responses from the participants. One is you cannot save yourself from the current situation. Only way out to invest in better opportunity. I think that's so Ziad. This I see this was a point from your side. That's a great takeaway. Thank you so much for sharing. Another takeaway: it won't be the same. Hence, more organized towards virtual life, online shopping, focus, and maybe taking up digital course. Wow, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so it's time to connect, build, and to take this time as an opportunity rather than a fear. Wow, that's another. See, I always believe when we talk about actionable engagement, I feel that when I hear from the participants, if we are able to change a little bit perspective in one of the participant, I think we have done our job. Even these words which you as a precious panelist shared, and they are being resonated by the participants. Honestly, by reading it is giving goosebumps bumps to me as well. Like, okay, so this is like we need to forget about fear. So fear to be replaced with an opportunity. I think that's a great learning. Yep. So these are the great points from everybody from the participant side. So before we end to the session, we move to the last part, which is the reinforcement. The same learning which you have taken as a action, I would request to the participant, please draw a simplest learning. So send that drawing to us, because drawing increase your probability of taking action to 60%. We will share a video with you, even you believe that you cannot draw. So you will have a video from us where will help you to draw and will help you to memorize it better. So that is the last action. We request all of you to make this event more actionable. So that is the request to all the participants. Now moving to the panelists, the way Ziad was saying that this is a big opportunity. I think I got this big opportunity more than all of you, because the people like you who have so great exposure, I'm able to have you on board here. And I think that will go a long way when people will watch the videos on YouTube and the Facebook as well. I think that's an honor, that's a respect, and that's a big opportunity having you all here. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Ziad Matar, thank you so much for wearing a different hat and a very kind conversation. Thank you so much, Hassan, for a very crisp opportunity sharing with the people. Mavish, very kind of you for podcast sharing and the other amazing thoughts from your side. And Shakil, crisp opportunities on hygienic side, on the clothing side. I think it's a lot of takeaways for us, and I would be happily sharing the things with you once people will share their drawing. Thank you so much, everybody, as a panelist.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the participants.
Thank you very
and
much,
thank you
Ali.
to my
Thanks a
panel
lot.
members as well.
Thank
I learned
you.
a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep. And with that, we'll just close this session, and we'll share the
Thank you very
recording
much.
with you in the due course time. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
thank you to the participants as well for taking your time